What's up, everybody? And today we are checking out the world's fastest bomber, the XB-70 Valkyrie. This is by Mustard, which I have to say I've watched 2, maybe 3 videos of theirs now, and they might be one of my favorite channels, to be honest with you, when it comes to military gear. I think it's just so well presented and incredibly knowledgeable. So if you haven't already, there is a link in the description. Head over to the original video, give it a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. What else do I need to say? Got some really cool stuff coming up on DREADNOUGHT MEADERY in the next few weeks, so please go check out that. What's this weird fuzzy thing on me? The beard hair. What's the beard hairs going on? Look at the state of my beard right now. What else? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. Other than that, let's shut up, let's pull this up, and let's have some fun.
By Curiosity Stream. Watch thousands of high-quality documentaries and get access to my streaming service Nebula using the link in the description.
Let's have a look here.
In the fall of 1964, the Air Force begins testing a radical new machine that looks like it's come from outer space.
I just want to pause it. XB-70. So B obviously for bomber and X meaning prototype. So a prototype bomber 70. I learned that because people commented in my comment section telling me all about it. I do read the comments and I learn a lot from you guys, so keep it up, okay?
It's one of the fastest aircraft to ever fly, a massive intercontinental bomber that can outrun any fighter jet.
How fast can it actually go then?
So groundbreaking, it rides its own supersonic shockwave. It was going to be the future of America's bomber force.
Whoa.
But efforts to develop such an advanced aircraft would be marred by tragedy.
Oh no. So the XB-70 Valkyrie was unfortunately not ever used, which, I mean, it makes sense why it's still to this day called the XB-70 Valkyrie. Interesting looking design. Very interesting looking.
By the mid-1950s, tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were reaching an all-time high. Both sides had strategic bombers that could fly halfway around the world to strike targets deep within enemy territory. The United States had developed a state-of-the-art all-jet bomber force. The newly introduced B-52 could carry large payloads over long distances, and the soon-to-be-introduced B-58 would dash to supersonic speeds.
I haven't done videos on either of them yet, so I'd like to learn more about them. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, if there's some good videos you recommend.
But in an all-out conflict, neither of these would really cut it against Soviet air defenses. While the B-52 could fly all the way to the Soviet Union, it flew too slow to stand a chance against the latest generation of Soviet interceptors. The supersonic B-58 could fly just as fast as any interceptor, but had limited range and payload. What the Air Force urgently needed was a new kind of plane. A heavy bomber fast enough to outrun anything the Soviets could throw at it. But in 1955, many doubted whether such a plane was even possible, because it would mean having to turn to some pretty radical solutions, like using nuclear power to extend an aircraft's range, or exotic high-energy fuels to boost the performance of jet engines.
Nuclear power on a plane? Has that been done before? I don't think it has. That would be pretty drastic. Obviously we have nuclear powered ships these days, or floating cities, whatever you want to call them. Some of the aircraft carriers are nuclear powered, which I did not know until these videos, and that blew my mind. And I was in the Royal Marines, which means I was part of the Navy and I should know this stuff, and I did not know that stuff. And that absolutely blew my mind. I wonder if it's been done before with planes. I don't think it has. I've never heard of it.
The most practical solution seemed to be an aircraft that would fly subsonically most of the way to its target before jettisoning the outer portions of its wings and fuel tanks to make a supersonic dash.
Whoa.
But aviation technology in the 1950s progressed at a breakneck speed, with rapid advances in aerodynamics, engine performance, and exotic materials. And it meant the dash concept could be shelved in favor of a design that would cruise supersonically over its entire mission. So in 1957, the Air Force began development of a next-generation bomber. And the performance targets were ambitious. It would have to fly more than 3 times faster than the B-52,
Ooh.
25,000 feet higher, and have similar payload and range. And leading aircraft builders Boeing and North American Aviation were invited to compete on a design.
I wish we could have the B-21... B-21B? Is it a B? It's the B-21B, I think. I wish we could have them stats next to these, because they are both bombers, right? Even though one is a stealth bomber more than anything. I'd love to know the stat difference. Like, what's the speed of the B-21B? Let me have a look one sec. Speed of B-21. 620 miles per hour. What's the difference between... can we do it in... It doesn't say what's 600 miles per hour in Mach. I don't really know how the difference is. B-21 bomber Mach speed. It doesn't say. Less than Mach 1? Really? So the top range of 6,000 miles, and it can, with a top speed of 600 miles per hour. So what is Mach 3? It's 2,600, sorry, 2,300 miles per hour. Wow. So this goes faster than the stealth bomber? Mach 1 speed is 1,200. Interesting. Oh, so Mach is just kilometers. Oh no, Mach is speed of sound. Oh, that's what it means. Am I stupid for not knowing what that is? What that meant? Am I stupid for not knowing that? The Mach number is a dimensionless quantity in fluid dynamics representing the ratio of flow velocity past the bound to the local speed of sound. So M is the local Mach number. So Mach 1 is the speed of sound. By definition, at Mach 1, the local flow velocity, u, is equal to the speed of sound. Oh, okay. I did not know that. Maybe I should have known that. 3 times the speed of sound. That's pretty fast.
Boeing and North American Aviation submitted radical concepts that looked similar on the surface. Both featured canards and slender delta wings optimized for supersonic flight. But Boeing was widely expected to win. After all, they had built the venerable B-52 and a series of iconic bombers during the Second World War.
I'm just very confused as to how something is supposed to bomb something when it's going Mach 3. Like, the targeting system must be phenomenal.
North American was the underdog. But during development, their engineers stumbled upon research that would give them a huge advantage. A little-known report that detailed a phenomenon called compression lift. When flying faster than the speed of sound, shock waves typically travel away from an aircraft. But if they could be redirected underneath the wings, the shock waves would help generate additional lift.
Whoa.
Using this principle, North American's entry promised to fly more efficiently at high supersonic speeds. And the Air Force was impressed. To the shock of Boeing, in 1957, North American's design was selected for development. The new bomber would be given the name Valkyrie and designated as the B-70.
Valkyrie is such a fucking cool Norse name, innit?
Engineers used cutting-edge technologies to build a 260-ton bomber that could outrun a fighter jet. To make this feat possible,
That's crazy.
6 afterburning turbojets were fed air through a sophisticated intake. The engines were optimized to run most efficiently at high supersonic speeds, and they were powerful enough so that even if one were to fail, the Valkyrie could still maintain Mach 3 and complete its mission.
Whoa.
But clever aerodynamics were also key to performance. with compression lift giving the Valkyrie one of the highest lift-to-drag ratios of any manned aircraft.
I mean, how many bombs can this thing carry if it's going to have all this like designed just for the airflow and everything? Like, at what point is it more efficient to, I don't know, like, you want to get a bunch of bombs on there, don't you?
Variable geometry wings improved stability and enhanced compression lift. On takeoff and landings, they could be fully extended, at low supersonic speeds, angled downwards 25 degrees, and at multi-Mach speeds, a full 65. But flying at 3 times the speed of sound, kinetic heating on the airframe would be so intense, it would soften conventional aircraft aluminum. So engineers developed a revolutionary fuselage skin and circulated fuel throughout the airframe to cool the aircraft's interior.
I feel like I'm stupid for not knowing that Mach 1 was the speed of sound. I feel like I probably did know that at one point in my life. And it just kind of disappeared. I went to the back of my head and I completely forgot. Do you know what I mean?
Even at an altitude of 75,000 feet, the Valkyrie's cockpit was fully pressurized and featured an innovative encapsulated escape system.
Wow.
It meant that the bomber's crew of 4 wouldn't have to put on bulky flight suits, allowing a Valkyrie crew to get airborne in only 20 minutes. Capable of delivering a nuclear payload to anywhere in the world in just hours, the Valkyrie's performance was truly out of this world, and the bomber would embody America's strategy of deterrence through strength.
Yeah, let's see where it went wrong,
The
though.
first experimental XB-70 prototype was unveiled in May of 1964, with flight testing to begin in the following months. And it would soon be joined by a second and third prototype, both already under construction. But from the start, it was clear that things wouldn't go so smoothly. During initial ground tests, there were so many technical problems, the first flight was delayed for months, while engineers sorted through a laundry list of issues.
Wait, go back here. I want to see. Let's have a look. Ammonia fumes ingested into cockpit. Well, that's not good. Loss of primary hydraulic system. Problems with steering and brake chatter. Brake actuator. Leak. Hydraulic valve. Damaged. Hydraulic leak. Another hydraulic leak. Holy.
It wouldn't be until September 21st that the XB-70 was finally ready to make its first flight, and cheers could be heard as the space-aged bomber lifted off for the very first time.
You gotta be pretty brave to be the first person to fly one of these prototypes, aren't you? You've got to be pretty brave to do that.
But celebrations were short-lived, because a hydraulic leak prevented the landing gear from retracting, and soon one of the engines surged, forcing a shutdown.
Wow.
As the prototype came back in for a landing, a brake locked up, causing a tire to blow out and catch fire.
Oh my god.
It seemed just as one problem was solved, more would emerge. On October 12th, the XB-70 crossed.
These all seem like, is it me or are these just little things? Like, why would the brake lock up? Like, I feel like these are all little things that should be checked over. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a major thing. You know? It just seems like little things that should have been ticked off easily. Maybe I'm no fucking engineer, so I might be talking shit.
The sound barrier for the very first time, just barely inching above Mach 1. But as flight tests continued, paint began peeling off the fuselage and control surfaces, and soon the aircraft looked like it had flown through a sandblaster.
Wow.
The paint was patched up and the XB-70 pushed on to higher speeds. But
again, paint. Like, I feel like this is all stuff that should have been known, right?
with each test flight, it seemed the faster it flew, the more serious the issues became. On its 12th test flight, as the prototype reached Mach 2.6, the horizontal splitter tore off and was sucked into the engine duct, knocking out 4 engines. The pilots landed safely, but all of the engines had to be replaced.
Wow.
Finally, on October 14th, the aircraft was cleared to reach Mach 3. But just 2 minutes in, a large portion of the wing's leading edge broke off, forcing yet another emergency landing.
Oh my god.
From that point on, the first prototype was limited to flying at no more than Mach 2.5. In developing such a state-of-the-art aircraft, there were bound to be setbacks. But there was a much bigger problem looming over the program. From the very start, there were serious doubts about whether the Valkyrie would really be safe from Soviet air defenses. because surface-to-air missiles introduced in the mid-1950s were quickly becoming the most effective way to guard airspace. And by the 1960s,
Yeah, it just seemed like there were so many things constantly going wrong with it. And a lot of these things seem, I don't know, like, I might be wrong by saying it, but they seem kind of fixable. Right?
the Soviet Union had thousands of them, which could hit targets beyond even the XB-70's altitude. The introduction of ICBMs in the late 1950s also meant that nuclear warheads could now be delivered much more quickly and economically. In the span of just a few years, missile technology had rendered the world's most advanced bomber virtually obsolete.
That's crazy, that, innit? Well, look at that, like, space version of it. That's really cool rendition, innit?
The XB-70's strategic value in serious question, engineers scrambled for ways to keep the plane relevant, sketching out radical concepts to repurpose the bomber into a missile launcher, an aerial launch platform for spacecraft, or even a supersonic aerial refueler.
So they were really trying to do something with it, weren't they? Probably just to keep that funding.
Even more outlandish was a proposal that would turn the bomber into a Mach 3 supersonic transport. But these concepts
I ain't getting on that
proved
thing.
to be a bridge too far.
There's no way I'm
The
getting on that.
program was dramatically scaled back, eventually reduced down to a bare minimum research project involving just 2 aircraft. But with millions already spent on development, the program pushed forward. And in 1966, NASA joined the Air Force in flight testing, using the prototypes to gather valuable research into supersonic flight. By that point, the second prototype had proven to be a much more capable plane. On May 19, 1966, it reached speeds beyond Mach 3, demonstrating its ability to cruise at 3 times the speed of sound for
3 times the speed of sound. Think about that. That is absolutely nuts.
over 30 minutes. After nearly a decade of development, one of the world's most ambitious aircraft was finally living up to expectations. But tragedy would strike just weeks later. On June 8th, the second prototype was joined by 4 other aircraft for a formation flying photo op. But minutes into the flight, without warning, one of the trailing aircraft collided with the XB-70, instantly destroying it and severely damaging the Valkyrie's vertical stabilizers. For 16
Okay, did the pilots die?
seconds, the Valkyrie continued flying straight and level before spiraling back to Earth. In a matter of seconds, 2 test pilots and a billion-dollar aircraft were tragically lost.
Oh my god. This is what I'm saying. Like, you're test flying these things. You could easily get killed. People died doing that. That's crazy.
It was a devastating setback for the program, and it meant NASA and the Air Force would have to continue research with the much less capable original prototype.
Imagine, right, the continuing research with that one prototype after 2 pilots have just died and you've been told you've got to go fly it. Oh my god. Can you imagine? Oh, you're going to go fly this now on a test. I'd be like, you fucking, no. Not a chance. 2 of me mates, 2 of me oppos just died in that other one. You're going to make me fly this shit?
The XB-70 was an engineering marvel, and while it never joined America's bomber force, it still had a profound impact on the Cold War. Because in 1955, when the Soviet Union learned that the Americans were developing a supersonic long-range bomber, they scrambled to develop an equivalent, and it would end up as one of the most fearsome-looking aircraft ever built. But looks can be deceiving. In an effort to match the Americans, the Soviets ended up producing an embarrassing failure, one that they would keep hidden for decades. You can learn more about the M50's dramatic failure in my latest video, available right now on Nebula. Nebula is where you can...
Okay, so that's pretty much it. They talk about Nebula after this, which you should go check out if you want, because Curiosity Stream, I actually subscribe to it. It's really good. Actually, really, really good. Anyway, great video, as always, by Mustard. Go over there, check out his channel. There's a link in the description. Go over, subscribe, and do all that good stuff, because they genuinely make fantastic videos. I feel like I came away from that video thinking that I was kind of more frustrated at that whole situation with that bomber more than anything else. Let me know what you think in the comments. Things that seemed like they were minor, they might not have been. I'm no engineer, like I said. And then 2 pilots dying during testing. Oh my god. And then he said that the Soviet one was an embarrassment. It feels like that was also a bit of an embarrassment. Great technological feat that one of them went past over Mach 3, but still, like, you know, it killed 2 pilots. Plus, it didn't even mention about the aircraft behind it that it hit. There's probably a pilot in that as well. So the whole thing just seemed like a bit of a disaster, didn't it? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you think. I do learn a lot from you guys, so please let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Always helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.